What if the tiniest member of Britain's most famous family stumbled upon a secret so raw it could reopen scars left by the late Princess Diana? Imagine Prince Louis, 9, padding through velvet halls, stopping at a half-closed door that smelled of lavender and something older regret. Inside waited one envelope, Charlotte's name inked across it in a hand he didn't know. Who wrote it? Why hide it? Stay, because this answer carries cracked portraits, hidden tapes, and a jealousy that could shake the throne. And that is only the beginning. Prince Louis stood outside Clarence House's drawing room, while adults traded figures about trade deals he could not spell. His minder slipped away to answer a buzzing phone, leaving the hallway clear. Paintings of stern ancestors watched him shift his weight from shoe to shoe. He walked. Each door on the corridor was shut until one revealed a slice of dim light. He nudged it. A quiet room opened, curtains drawn, perfume lingering. A brass horse paperweight pinned a single white envelope to a vanity. The wax seal looked fresh. Across the front, in precise black letters, was his sister's name, Charlotte. Louis glanced over his shoulder. No one. He knew better than to pry, yet curiosity won. He pocketed the envelope. The paper felt heavy despite its size. Footsteps echoed somewhere outside, so he eased the door closed. The scent clung to his jacket. Moving back through the corridor, he thought of questions he couldn't ask, questions that grew louder with each step toward the courtyard. In the car, he pressed the envelope flat against his heart, unsure why it scared him. The paper did not crinkle. It waited, silent. When Windsor's gates opened later that evening, Louis kept a hand on his pocket like a secret stowaway, and the weight of that folded paper would follow him well past bedtime. But he had no idea yet. But the letter was only the first domino. The drive to Adelaide Cottage took less than an hour, yet for Louis it stretched like a slow-motion film. His talkative nature vanished. Catherine noticed the silence, the way he leaned away from his seatbelt, face turned to the window. After dinner, she helped him out of his blazer and felt an unfamiliar shape. Louis looked down. "It said Charlotte," he murmured. Catherine unsealed the wax with a fingernail. Inside lay a single sheet. It read, "She already draws every eye. She will eclipse us all. Nothing more." No salutation, no date. The handwriting was sharp, tidy, almost clinical. Catherine read the line twice, feeling tension rise. It sounded like envy wrapped in prophecy. She folded the letter, lips pressed thin. Louis asked if he was in trouble. She shook her head, pulled him into a hug, and told him he had done nothing wrong. Yet her mind raced. Who wrote it? Why hide it? And what did it mean for Charlotte? She tucked Louis into bed, then carried the note to William. He saw her expression and understood the urgency before reading a word. He read, exhaled hard, and said only, "I need to see that room." Because one sheet of paper had just unlatched an old door. At dawn, William drove through London's quiet streets, parking without security fanfare. Inside Clarence House, staff greeted him with polite confusion. He moved past them with a purpose formed overnight. The corridor smelled of polish, but the lavender room still held its scent. He opened the door. The vanity was neat, scarves folded, drawers shut, yet under a vase lay a photo frame face down. He lifted it. Diana, in a pearl-beaded gown, smiled from behind cracked glass. Across the break, someone had scrawled, "Even broken, she commands the room." The handwriting matched the letter. William's heartbeat slowed to a calculating pace. He set the frame down but noticed a fine powder on the vanity ground glass from the crack, freshly disturbed. The insult felt recent. He took pictures for record, then left the room untouched. Staff watched him depart, but asked no questions. Outside, morning traffic began to hum, but William was already planning a second visit to whoever kept Clarence House's private archive. And an old cassette was about to give the next clue. A senior housekeeper met William near a service stairwell. She spoke quietly. "There is more, sir." She handed him a small cassette player. He stepped into a linen closet, pressed play, and heard Camilla's measured voice. "They still measure me against her shadow. Charlotte has her eyes. One day they will forget the rest of us." She paused. A chair creaked. "It never ends." The tape clicked off. 30 seconds, yet enough. William rewound, listened again, confirming the speaker. It was not public bravado, but private frustration. He shut the player, thanked the housekeeper, and slipped the tape into his coat. This was no rumor. It was evidence of resentment, and it had sat within reach of a wandering child. He drove back to Windsor in silence, forming questions for his father and, possibly, for Camilla herself. Rumors outside raced ahead. By lunchtime, television hosts speculated that King Charles would soon grant Princess Charlotte the title Duchess of Edinburgh, a role once whispered for Prince Edward. Tabloids tied the move to Charles's modernizing plan. Comment sections exploded with talk of Camilla's alleged jealousy. Some called the report fair progress. Others called it a slight against Edward and a new blow to Camilla. William saw the headlines scroll on his phone and understood how each repeat of Charlotte's name stirred the embers caught on tape. He asked palace aides to hold statements, fearing any denial would attract more heat. Still, reporters camped by palace gates. Hashtags trended by early afternoon. The story needed context, yet context rarely clicks. Inside Windsor, Charlotte practiced piano scales, unaware that her future title fueled the day's narrative, while a 9-year-old carried the real load. Public pictures from Trooping the Color showed Louis smiling and waving, yet at home laughter came slowly. He avoided mention of Clarence House and asked Catherine whether Grandma might not like us. Catherine widened family time. She and William read extra chapters at night. They answered questions directly but gently. Charlotte tried jokes to lighten his mood. George offered to trade chores just to see him grin. Still, Louis kept checking his pocket even without the letter, as if the memory filled the space. A child therapist advised routine, honesty, and patience. William added morning bike rides. Slowly the questions stopped, but an unease remained whenever Camilla's name surfaced on television. Louis left the room each time. Catherine noticed and knew the silence could not last forever, and William chose confrontation over patience. William arrived at Clarence House late afternoon, unannounced. Camilla sat in the library reading reports. He shut the door behind him. "Louis found a letter in your room," he began. She set the papers down. He should not have been there. William kept his tone even. "A child wandered. The words were cruel." Camilla sighed. "You cannot know what it's like to live next to her memory." William replied, "I know what it is like to lose her. My children are not to blame." Camilla's shoulders slumped. She offered no apology. William placed the letter on the table, then the cassette. "Both came from here. Keep them or destroy them, but they will never reach my children again." He left as quietly as he arrived, but the encounter changed palace corridors. Staff felt the tension hours later. The world outside sensed unrest. News of a private royal meeting leaked by evening. Anonymous sources claimed voices were raised. Some said Camilla fled the room. Palaces released bland statements about family time together, but social media decided its own version. Hashtags split, number stand with Camilla versus number protect Charlotte. Morning shows invited body language experts to review balcony footage for tension. Every clip replayed Camilla's neutral smile. Opinion pieces drew lines. Some called attention to the cruelty of constant Diana comparisons. Others argued Camilla should never have let resentment reach William's children. Palace communications grew reactive rather than proactive. Each denial appeared as confirmation. Within 72 hours, the original letter's words were quoted in tabloids, though no image was published. William refused comment. Camilla canceled 2 minor events, citing scheduling changes. Yet one voice still needed to reckon with memory. Charles sat alone in the Rose Lounge after midnight, letter and cracked photo in front of him. He read the line aloud once, remembering headlines from 1997. He thought about walking behind his mother's coffin, and about Camilla waiting in the background for decades. Tears came not dramatic, just steady. At sunrise, he asked William to visit. They spoke as father and son, not monarch and heir. Charles agreed the letter and cassette would be sealed in the royal archives, logged but restricted. He promised to shield the children and to address Camilla privately. William accepted but warned that leaked fragments might surface. They parted with a shared goal: protect Louis's peace. Charles drafted a note to Camilla, urging reflection over silence. Camilla's next steps, however, surprised many. Camilla reduced her public diary, attending only major duties. She skipped a Windsor garden party where Charlotte's artwork was displayed. Staff noticed the change. Fewer informal chats, doors closed during meetings. Friends suggested she address the issue head-on, but she issued no apology. Reports claimed she drafted letters to Louis and Charlotte but held them back. Instead, she buried herself in charity paperwork late into nights. Columnists speculated whether guilt or anger drove the retreat. Public polls dipped again when newscasters linked her absence to the rumored confrontation. The silence became its own narrative, louder than any statement. Meanwhile, palace workers whispered that Clarence House felt colder, halls emptier. Camilla's circle tightened, and every unopened envelope reminded her of one that had escaped. But the youngest Windsor still carried echoes. William and Catherine fortified daily life. Breakfast now meant shared stories. Evenings meant family walks. They framed the garden as safe space. No adult politics allowed. They invited a counselor for informal chats disguised as art sessions. Louis painted dragons guarding castles, symbols the therapist read as defense. Catherine told Charlotte letters can reveal people's fears, not truths. George organized football in the yard, making sure Louis always picked the first team. Slowly, Louis laughed again. Bedtime included a ritual. William's palm open, Louis placing an imaginary worry inside, closing the fingers, and saying goodnight. The exercise built trust. By July, Louis attended a palace reception without visible anxiety. The envelope had lost weight, yet its shadow taught the family new habits of openness. Healing looked steady, but grief moves in circles. One Sunday after church, staff and family gathered near Windsor's rose beds. A butler shared a light joke about Camilla's baking mishap, meaning no harm. Louis's shoulders tensed. Seconds later, he bolted behind a hedge and cried. Catherine found him curled up. He said, "I don't want her to hate us." Catherine knelt. "Someone else's hurt isn't ours." William joined, arms around both. George and Charlotte arrived, turning it into a group hug. The moment ran only minutes, yet it reset the day's mood. Later that night, Louis told Catherine he felt lighter. She reminded him that sharing feelings shrinks them. He slept soundly, window open, summer air calm. The family knew growth isn't linear, but the garden tears marked progress, and the outside world prepared a new test. 3 weeks later, 2 UK newsrooms received the same anonymous email. Audio files labeled Clarence Tape. Legal teams acted fast, but websites hinted at jealous whispers. Viewers clicked teaser articles in record numbers. Inside Adelaide Cottage, William and Catherine met advisors, reviewing every scenario: partial leak, full leak, false leak. They kept calm for the children. Camilla's aides issued no comment, fueling more questions. Charles consulted lawyers on privacy rights versus public interest. Meanwhile, Louis built a Lego castle, unaware of adult storms. The recording's authenticity remained unverified publicly, but speculation alone rekindled debate about Camilla, Diana, and Charlotte. Commentators wondered if the monarchy could handle another crisis shaped by echoes from 1997. The palace braced for round two. Will the tape drop? Will Camilla finally speak? Could one voice from a linen closet reshape public trust? Subscribe and ring the bell, because if those whispers break daylight, you'll want to hear every word right here first.